Have you ever watched people who were once close slowly turn cold, and later realized it began with just a few extra words from someone in the middle? Have you ever said something that felt like a helpful reminder, only to discover later that your sentence quietly planted suspicion, resentment, and a breakup you never intended? Welcome back to the channel. Today we are talking about something that sounds small, almost harmless, but is actually one of the fastest ways to burn blessings, damage trust, and twist destiny in daily life. It is divisive speech, the kind of speech that separates people, fuels misunderstanding, and turns friends into strangers. Thrangu Rinpoche spoke about this in a way that is both strict and deeply compassionate, because he understood what most of us learn too late. You can destroy years of kindness with one careless sentence, and you can also protect years of connection with one moment of restraint. I want you to hold to core ideas from the very beginning. First, avoiding divisive speech is not just about being liked. It is about awakening, karma, and the kind of future you are building through your mouth every single day. Second, guarding your speech is not simply biting your tongue. It is a high-level compassion practice. It means you become someone who brings harmony into situations, not someone who secretly enjoys watching people split into sides. Now let us go straight into a story that will feel painfully familiar, because this is how divisive speech actually works. Not in theory, in kitchens, group chats, lunch breaks, and those quiet moments when someone leans closer and says the sentence that sounds friendly but carries poison. Three friends had known each other since their teenage years. Let us call them Jen, Sunny, and Rose. They were the kind of friends who could sit together in silence and still feel close. They saw each other through exams, heartbreaks, family drama, first jobs, and the awkward years when everyone is changing and nobody knows who they are yet. Even after graduation, when their lives moved into different cities and different workplaces, they still made time to meet once a month. Not because it looked cute on social media, but because their friendship was a refuge. Then a new connection formed that looked innocent. Jen, through her work, met people in Sunny's company. Nothing strange, just normal industry overlap. One evening, while the three friends were having dinner, Jen leaned in with that tone that signals a secret is coming. She said something like, "I should tell you something. I heard your manager said something about you, and it was not good." Sunny laughed nervously. She tried to act casual, but you could see her face tighten. Jen continued, saying that, "Sunny, this manager supposedly thought Sunny was slow, too sensitive, not tough enough, maybe not suitable for bigger responsibilities." Jen delivered it like a gift, like she was protecting her friend. Sunny forced a smile and said thanks for the heads up. But inside, a seed was planted, not the seed of wisdom, the seed of suspicion. That night, Sunny could not sleep well. Her mind replayed every recent interaction at work. A neutral glance from her manager became evidence. A shorty mail became proof. A moment where her manager did not smile became a hidden insult. When the mind is infected by suspicion, it becomes a detective that only searches for confirmation of pain. The next day at work, Sunny's posture changed. She walked into the office already armored. In meetings, she listened differently. She heard criticism even when there was none. She felt attacked even when the tone was normal. She began defending herself before anyone even accused her. She started over-explaining. She started working with a tight nervous system, which made her make small mistakes, which made her feel even more threatened, which made her more defensive. And then something else happened. Something subtle and tragic. She stopped trusting her manager. Even if the manager had never said those words. Even if the manager had never meant harm. The trust was already cracked in Sunny's mind. A week later, Sunny met her manager for a routine check-in. The manager, stressed and busy, gave direct feedback. Not cruel feedback, just direct. Sunny heard it through the filter of Jen's secret. She felt humiliated. Her face got hot. Her voice became sharp. She said something defensive, then something slightly disrespectful. Then she left the meeting feeling like she had been wronged. Her manager was confused. The manager felt the sudden resistance. The manager began to see Sunny as difficult. The manager became less patient. The manager became more distant. And now, the tragedy completes itself. Sunny's suspicion created the conditions that made the relationship actually become cold. This is one of the most painful laws of karma in everyday life. When you believe people are against you, you behave as if they are, and then you help create the very outcome you feared. Now let us go back to Jen for a moment. Jen did not intend to destroy anything. She honestly believed she was helping. But here is where Thrangu Rinpoche's point becomes sharp. Divisive speech does not always come from hatred. Sometimes it comes from a craving to be important. Sometimes it comes from the pleasure of being the one who knows. Sometimes it comes from the desire to be seen as loyal. Sometimes it comes from fear. Sometimes it comes from boredom. Sometimes it comes from disguised jealousy. And sometimes it comes from what people call good intentions that are not guided by wisdom. Jen enjoyed the feeling of being the messenger. She enjoyed the closeness that secrets create. Secrets can feel like intimacy, but often they are just shared poison. After Sunny's relationship with her manager got worse, Sunny started complaining more to Rose. Rose was caught in the middle. Rose tried to stay neutral, but she also started absorbing Sunny's bitterness. Sunny needed validation, so she began saying things like, "Jen told me they said this, and I can see it now. They never respected me. They always looked down on me." Rose, wanting to comfort her, said words that sounded supportive but fed the fire. She said maybe they are jealous of you. Maybe they do not deserve you. Maybe you should confront them. Maybe you should quit. None of this was evil. It was human, but it was also fuel. Soon the monthly dinners changed. Instead of warmth, there was tension. Instead of laughter, there was analysis. Instead of friendship, there was a court of judgment. Jen began feeling uncomfortable because she could see her words had consequences. But she did not want to take responsibility, so she became defensive. Sunny became more intense because she felt injured. Rose became exhausted because she was forced into loyalty tests. Then the moment came, as it always comes, when someone finally said what had been building underneath. Sunny looked at Jen and asked, "Are you sure you heard that? Or are you just repeating rumors?" Jen felt attacked. She said, "Why would I lie? I was trying to help you." Sunny said, "Your help ruined my peace." Jen said, "That is not my fault. Your manager is the problem." Now the friendship itself was cracked. Notice how fast this happened. Years of closeness, damaged by one sentence that sounded like care. This is why divisive speech is considered so heavy in Buddhist teaching. Not because Buddhism is obsessed with rules, but because it is obsessed with reducing suffering. Divisive speech multiplies suffering. It creates enemies where none existed. It breaks harmony. It steals trust. It stains the mind that speaks it, and it stains the minds that receive it. Now I want to slow down and make this extremely practical, because if we keep it at the story level, You might think, well, that was their problem. But the real teaching is to recognize the pattern in yourself. Divisive speech often begins with a familiar doorway phrase. It can be as simple as, "I am only telling you this because I care," or "I probably should not say this, but," or "I heard something and I think you should know," or "Do not tell anyone I told you," or the classic, "I am not judging, but." These phrases are not always evil. Sometimes real warnings are necessary, but the problem is that most of the time, these phrases are used to disguise emotional appetite. The appetite to stir something. The appetite to be central. The appetite to feel superior. The appetite to bond through negativity. Thrangu Rinpoche emphasized that the practice is not only to stop the words. The practice is to recognize the mind that wants to speak them. So let us investigate that mind together, the way you would investigate a suspicious movement inside your own heart. When you feel the urge to tell someone a negative thing about a third person, pause and ask yourself, what am I feeding right now? Am I feeding compassion? Or am I feeding excitement? Am I feeding harmony? Or am I feeding drama? Am I feeding protection? Or am I feeding control? Am I feeding wisdom? Or am I feeding my craving to be important? If you can answer honestly, you are already practicing awakening. Awakening is not a mystical explosion. Awakening is seeing your intention clearly. Now let me show you how divisive speech works like a hidden engine that doctors destiny downward. Because this is where the topic becomes bigger than friendship drama. It becomes karma. In Buddhist teaching, karma is shaped by intention. Intention becomes action. Action becomes habit. Habit becomes character. Character becomes the kinds of conditions you attract and the kinds of outcomes you repeatedly experience. Divisive speech is not only about breaking others apart. It also breaks you apart inside. It trains your mind to look for flaws and conflict. It trains your mind to feel pleasure from separation. It trains your mind to mistrust. It trains your mind to keep score. It trains your mind to live in suspicion. A mind trained in suspicion is never truly relaxed. Even when everything is fine, it expects betrayal. That expectation becomes your emotional atmosphere. People can feel it. They become careful around you. They hide things. They distance themselves. And then you say, "See, people cannot be trusted." This is karma as a self-fulfilling cycle. Now, there is another deep layer to why Thrangu Rinpoche and many Buddhist masters treat divisive speech as a central practice point, because it is directly connected to compassion. Compassion means you do not add suffering to the world. Divisive speech adds suffering fast. It is like throwing a spark into dry grass. One rumor can ruin a reputation. One private comment can end a marriage. One suggestive sentence can break a team. One forwarded message can split a family. And here is the part that many people avoid facing. Even if you did not intend the damage, you still participated in creating conditions for damage. This is why the Buddhist path is so careful with speech. It is not about fear. It is about responsibility. Now, some of you might be thinking, but what if what I say is true? What if someone really did say something bad? What if I really am protecting my friend? Good. Let us talk about wisdom. Because the path is not blind silence. The path is skillful speech. Skillful speech asks different questions. Is it true? Is it necessary? Is it kind? Is it the right time? Will it reduce suffering or increase suffering? Am I the right person to say it? Can I say it in a way that leads to clarity instead of paranoia? In the story, Jen did not ask these questions. She dumped a rumor into Sunny's mind without verifying, without context, without compassion for the consequences. What would wisdom have looked like? Wisdom might have looked like this. Jen could have asked Sunny, "How is your relationship with your manager? Do you feel supported?" If Sunny said she felt uneasy, Jen could have encouraged direct communication and personal growth instead of planting a secret accusation. Wisdom might have looked like helping Sunny build confidence and skill, rather than feeding fear. Wisdom might have looked like saying, "Sometimes workplaces are stressful, but do not assume the worst. Focus on what you can control. Your conduct, your patience, your quality of work, your calm." That would have protected Sunny's mind. That would have protected the relationship. That would have protected Jen's karma too. Now let me bring in another story. Because this issue does not only show up in workplaces, it shows up in family. And family is where karma often feels the heaviest. There was a man I will call Marcus. Marcus had 2 siblings. As adults, they were not extremely close, but they were respectful. Their parents were aging. Money questions began appearing. Who pays for what? Who visits more? Who is responsible? Marcus had an aunt who loved to talk. She loved to be central. She would call Marcus and say things like, "I probably should not tell you this, but your sister said you never show up," or "Your brother thinks you are selfish," or "Your mother said you care more about work than family." Marcus would feel he tries. He would feel insulted. He would feel misunderstood. He would call his sister with sharp words. The sister would be shocked and defensive. She would say she never said that. Marcus would say the aunt told him. The sister would then call the aunt angry. The aunt would cry and claim she was only trying to help. And slowly, the family became a battlefield of mistrust. Everyone started reporting conversations in their mind. Everyone started picking sides. Everyone started assuming hidden agendas. The parents became more anxious. The siblings became colder. The aunt became even more dramatic because drama gave her attention. Then, the father fell ill. Suddenly, the family needed unity, but unity was gone. They could not cooperate smoothly. They argued about hospital decisions. They argued about schedules. They argued about money. The father suffered not only from illness, but from emotional tension around him. Marcus later said something that broke my heart. He said, "The sickness was painful, but the hatred we created was worse." This is divisive speech karma. It does not only break relationships, it steals the ability to respond wisely when real hardship arrives. Now, how did the healing begin? It began with one person practicing restraint. Marcus stopped accepting the bait. The next time the aunt called with a secret, Marcus said something simple. "I care about the family. If someone has a concern, I will speak to them directly. I do not want messages passed through the middle." The aunt tried again. Marcus repeated the same calm boundary. The aunt became frustrated because she could no longer use Marcus as fuel. She moved to other targets. But the chain was broken in that direction. Marcus then did something even more important. He apologized to his sister and brother. Not a dramatic apology, a clean one. He said, "I allowed secondhand words to control me. I am sorry. If you have concerns, please tell me directly. I will do the same." That apology repaired trust. Slowly, the family became more functional, not perfect, but less poisoned. This reveals the practice in a very clear way. Not speaking divisive speech is not only about what you say. It is also about what you refuse to carry. In other words, even if you are not the one spreading, you can still be the one transmitting. If you receive a rumor and you pass it on, you become part of the karma chain. So a high-level practice is to stop the chain at your own mind. You can do this in a simple way. When someone brings you a negative message about a third person, do not immediately react. Do not immediately bond with the speaker through shared judgment. Pause and ask questions that bring clarity. Did you hear it directly? What is the context? Why are you telling me? What do you hope I will do with this? Would it be better to speak directly with them? You do not need to be aggressive. You can be calm and steady. The calmer you are, the less drama can hook into you. Now let us go deeper into the spiritual side, because Thrangu Rinpoche was not only speaking as a social psychologist, he was speaking as someone who understood the path of liberation. Why is guarding divisive speech connected to awakening? Because divisive speech is rooted in separation. It strengthens the illusion that people are enemies, that the world is divided, that your safety requires creating camps and alliances. Awakening moves in the opposite direction. Awakening sees that all beings want happiness and fear suffering. Awakening sees that the mind creates stories, and stories create war. Awakening sees that compassion is not weakness, it is intelligence. When you refuse to split people with your words, you are practicing the Bodhisattva direction. You are practicing being a bridge, not a knife. That is why this practice changes destiny. Because destiny is not only external events. Destiny is the kind of person you become and the kind of social field you create around you. Now, I want to talk about the quiet pleasure that many people get from divisive speech, because we cannot transform what we refuse to admit. Sometimes people share secrets because it makes them feel close. If I tell you something private, you and I become special. We become a team. But if that closeness is built on negativity about a third person, then your connection is poisoned at the root. It will eventually turn on you too, because once someone uses gossip to bond with you, they will like Lewis gossip to bond with others about you. So the practice is also to choose cleaner intimacy. How do you build closeness without poison? You build closeness through honesty, through shared values, through mutual support, through real conversation, through kindness, through direct communication. This is why guarding speech is also guarding your friendships. Now let us return to Sunny, Jen, and Rose, because the story does not have to end in permanent loss. Most real stories do not end cleanly. They end with imperfect repair, and that is still a blessing. After months of tension, Sunny eventually realized her mind had become exhausted. She was tired of interpreting every look. She was tired of feeling like everyone was talking behind her back. She decided to do something that required courage. She asked her manager for a direct conversation. She did not accuse. She did not mention Jen. She simply said, "I want to improve. I also want to understand if there are areas where you feel I am falling short, because I have been feeling anxious about how I am perceived." Her manager looked surprised and said, "I have never wanted you to feel anxious. You are doing fine in many areas. Yes, there are places to grow, like speed on certain tasks, but I have not been criticizing you behind your back. If someone said that, they may be projecting. I want us to have direct communication." Sunny felt a wave of embarrassment and relief. Embarrassment because she realized how much suffering she had created in her own mind. Relief because the nightmare story was not fully real. Then Sunny did something even harder. She spoke with Jen. She did not attack. She said, I need to ask you something honestly. When you told me that story, did you hear it directly, or was it rumor? Jen hesitated. That hesitation revealed everything. Jen admitted it was something she heard from someone else, not a direct statement. She admitted she had not verified. She admitted she thought she was helping, but she also admitted she liked feeling important. That honesty hurt, but it also opened the door to repair. Sunny said, "I forgive you, but I need you to understand something. Your words changed how I saw my workplace. They changed my mind. They harmed my peace. Please do not do that to me again." Jen cried, not as performance, as shame. She realized she had used her friend as a stage. Rose listened and said something that became the turning point for all three of them. She said, "We have to learn to speak in a way that brings people together. If we cannot do that, we will keep losing friendships." That sentence became their practice. They made an agreement. If they had concerns about someone, they would speak directly with that person when appropriate, or they would keep silent and work on their own minds instead of passing poison. They decided that their friendship would be a place of warmth, not a place of rumor. Did they become perfect? No, but they became more awake. Now let me bring this directly into your life with a mirror, because you might be listening, unthinking of specific situations. Maybe you are Jen. You feel an urge to share what you heard. You call it care, but it has a hidden thrill. If you are Jen, your practice is to slow down and ask, will this create harmony or division? If it creates division, do not speak. Use your energy to help in a cleaner way. Maybe you are Sunny. You receive rumors and your mind spirals. If you are Sunny, your practice is to return to direct communication and to not let second-hand words become the ruler of your reality. Ask questions. Seek clarity. Strengthen your confidence. Do not feed paranoia. Maybe you are Rose, the person in the middle who gets exhausted holding everyone's emotions. If you are Rose, your practice is to stop being the dumping ground. You can be compassionate without being a trash bin for poison. You can say, "I care about you, but I do not want to discuss rumors." If there is a real issue, speak directly. This is compassion with wisdom. Now I want to go even deeper into the connection between speech and blessings, because this is one of the most concrete teachings in the path. People often pray for blessings, but they keep destroying blessings through the mouth. They create enemies with sarcasm. They break trust with exaggeration. They poison groups with gossip. They weaken relationships with constant complaint. They spread suspicion with hints and insinuations. Then they say life is unlucky. But karma is not random. Karma is precise. If you repeatedly plant separation, you harvest loneliness. If you repeatedly plant suspicion, you harvest insecurity. If you repeatedly plant conflict, you harvest obstacles. If you repeatedly plant harmony, you harvest support. If you repeatedly plant trust, you harvest stability. So the practice is not only spiritual, it is deeply practical. Now I want to share a personal style reflection, the kind that creates real resonance. Many of us have had moments where we said, "I was just telling you. I was just warning you. I was just sharing." And later we realized we were not just sharing. We were transferring emotion. We were offloading anxiety. We were trying to manage other people's relationships like a puppet master. Even if unconsciously, we were enjoying the feeling of being needed. If you recognize that in yourself, do not collapse into shame. Shame is another poison. Use it as awakening. The moment you see it, you can change it. And here is the most powerful replacement practice I know for this. When you feel the urge to speak divisive lie, Switch the urge into a blessing. Instead of saying, "They said something bad about you," say, "I hope your relationship with them becomes clearer and healthier." Instead of saying, "I do not trust that person," say, "I hope we all act with integrity and communicate directly." Instead of saying, "Let me tell you what I heard," say, "If there is something important, let us address it with wisdom, not rumor." This is not fake positivity. This is redirecting energy from harm to healing. That is compassion. Now let us close the story and the teaching in a way that lands. Divisive speech is fast. It feels small. It often comes with a smile, but it carries a heavy karmic cost. It damages other people's trust. It damages your own inner peace. It creates unnecessary enemies. It drains blessings. It bends destiny downward. And the opposite practice, not speaking divisive lie, seems quiet, but it is powerful. It protects relationships. It protects your reputation. It protects your mind from addiction to drama. It builds harmony around you. It turns destiny upward. Now I want to summarize the heart of Thrangu Rinpoche teaching in plain daily language. If your words create separation, do not speak them. If your words create clarity, unkindness, speak them. If you are unsure, choose silence and investigate your intention. If there is a real problem, choose direct communication instead of rumor. This is a real path, not a philosophy, a path. And now, I want to hear from you. Have you ever experienced a friendship, relationship, or family connection getting damaged because of a third person's words, or because of something you repeated without thinking? What did you learn from it? And if you have ever stopped a rumor chain and protected a relationship, share what helped you do it. Leave your story in the comments. Your experience might be exactly what someone else needs to wake up before they lose someone important. If this video helped you, support the channel by subscribing, liking the video, and commenting so more people can find these long-form teachings. And if you want to help keep longer episodes coming, consider becoming a member. Until next time, guard your mouth like you guard your future. Because in a very real sense, they are the same thing. There are moments when you see something, and your heart simply whispers, "This one is meant for me." Bracelet carries more than beads. It carries intention, protection, and quiet strength. Something to guide your thoughts and keep your spirit steady. If you felt that gentle pull toward any of the bracelets shown, the purchase link is waiting in the description, and the full collection is displayed on our channel store. Follow your intuition. It rarely leads you wrong.